All right. Thank you, Anna. Hello, everybody. We're really happy you're here. We're going to talk today about something that Otis and I have been talking about a lot this year. The conversation started during COVID, and it was brought on by looking at different organizations and trying to figure out, why are some organizations and events thriving or more than surviving while others are really near death in terms of their communities and how well they stayed intact. And so we've been having a lot of conversation about that. And we thought, who can exemplify the ideas that we've had about community best? And it was pretty quick and clear to come to THON as the exemplar of what community is and how to put it to work in a very methodological way. They have systematized community at THON, and we're going to talk about how they do it and then psychologically what it means. And together we hope that those things will give you the tools to do it yourself. So here we go. Today with us, me, of course, I'm Katrina, I'm the CEO at Turnkey. We have Suzanne Graney, the executive director, Kate Colgan, the executive director and student at THON, and I'll have Suzanne and Kate explain the relationship between those two organizations. And then Otis Fulton, our VP Psychological Strategy, and also my husband. So we're not being inappropriate. We are married, and it's all okay, people. All right. So I interviewed both Kate and Suzanne, and Kate said this to me about THON and about her experience with THON. I won't read it. I'll give you a moment to read it yourself. So if your participants felt this way, do you think you'd be successful? I think you would. And Kate is going to tell us about how she first engaged with THON and how she started the journey to feeling that way. Kate?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Katrina. So I became involved in mini-thon and thon at a very young age. My cousins were actually very involved in thon when they were at Penn State. And so when a mini-thon was started at my high school, it was something that I knew I wanted to become involved with and got involved with pretty quickly and pretty heavily. And kind of just led me to that feeling of helping others and giving back. And it was just something that drove me and that made me so excited to get up and continue doing that work every single day and continue giving back to others and also helping my peers be able to do the same.
So your first touch on THON, Kate, was at what age?
So I actually attended my first THON weekend when I was 2 years old.
Okay. And so your indoctrination began at that point. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was something that as a little kid, I didn't really understand the scope of the event. I just knew that it was a fun party like that I liked going to every year. And I liked getting to see my cousins do fun things. And it was a lot of, music and colors. And it was something that I just really enjoyed as a kid. But as I got older, I really started to understand the meaning of the event and really what it stood for.
Is THON why you went to Penn State?
It's definitely a huge part of it. I knew that I wanted to continue in this work and that Penn State was the absolute best place to do it. So I really couldn't imagine myself anywhere else and THON was a huge part of that.
So when you say continue this work, what you are alluding to is the fact that you intend to continue this work after you graduate.
Yeah, and also just continuing the work that I had begun in middle and high school through Mini-thon. I had wanted to continue doing that. I couldn't have imagined my high school career being the end of being involved in THON and Mini-thon and in that organization.
Got it. So if you could, your cousin was the executive director of THON when you were in grade school and high school, I guess, or high school?
Yeah. Yeah, she was the executive director when I was in high school.
Okay, and so then you chose to go to Penn State. You chose to participate in THON. Tell us about your life as executive director of THON right now.
Yeah, so it's definitely an absolutely wild experience, but I would not change it for the world. It's incredibly busy. I spend every waking moment of every day working on THON and the various initiatives that we have going on. But I have just met some of the most incredible people through this organization, and I've really found my home at Penn State through it. So I absolutely can't imagine myself anywhere else or doing anything else. I have loved this experience so far, and I'm so excited to continue it through the rest of this year.
And how much time do you spend on THON a week?
It usually averages about 80 hours a week.
Wow. And are you taking a full course load?
Not a full course load, no. I was luckily pretty close to finishing my degree. I had front loaded a lot of my courses, knowing that as I went through college, I knew that I wanted to become more involved with organizations. If it ended up being THON, if it ended up being something else, I was hoping to be able to grow my involvement throughout my time as college. So in college, so I really worked on taking a lot of my courses right at the beginning of my time in college. I'm hoping that I'd be able to do something like this and would be able to give my all and my full attention to it.
I love it. And I want you to talk about, you said this to me, it's all intentional and ingrained in the culture. And by it, we were talking about the whole process, the system that you have, which we're going to dig into with Suzanne, that it's ingrained in the culture, the retention, the excitement, the connection to the mission. Is that systemization? Is that a systemization, do you think?
I think so a bit. Yeah, I think it's, it's very intentional the way that we want our volunteers to feel excited about being involved in THON, the way that we try and make all of our events as fun as possible, even the things that we have to do that aren't that fun. We have to, for example, get on our hands and knees and clean all of the mats that cover the floor in the BJC THON weekend, which would sound like an awful task, but it's one of the most fun things that we do. We blast music, we splash each other with water. Everything that we do, we really make an effort to make it fun and make it something that people are encouraged to and wanting to continue coming out and do. So it's that kind of culture, but it's also the close connection to our mission and our volunteers being able to see why we do what we do. That's incredibly intentional, and we know how important that is for people to feel like they're making a difference when they could hear an actual, have an actual conversation with a family and hear them say that what we do has made an impact on their lives.
I love it. All right, I'm gonna switch to Suzanne now. Suzanne, for the professionals out there, I know one of the things that threw me before I started working with THON closely was that Kate really is in charge. Like Kate's the big girl in town while she's the chair and the executive director. Rather, can you help us understand the relationship between Four Diamonds and THON? And then, in your mind, what is THON?
Sure. Four Diamonds and THON are so intertwined, it's hard to describe one without describing the other. So THON is the student organization that is committed to raising awareness and raising funds to help conquer childhood cancer. Four Diamonds started around the same time that THON started as a gift fund within the university dedicated to childhood cancer. We have grown throughout the process to have other fundraising arms beyond THON and often inspired by THON and at times having other touch points to THON. So when I say that it's hard to describe one without the other, that's what I'm talking about. But I often make a comparison. It's if we look at a car, THON and the other fundraising arms are really the engine. Four Diamonds is the steering wheel, and the leader of the hospital is driving the car. They're the ones making the decisions. Where is the funding needed? What are the programs that need to be funded to help patients have their best opportunity of beating cancer? What are the research pieces that we need to explore next? So they're in the driver's seat. We're helping to connect all of the pieces, and THON is really serving as the fuel to that engine, helping to make sure that there are dollars needed to make programs happen.
I love it. And can you talk a little bit about the impact of THON?
Yeah, it is tremendous. We're coming up on the 50th THON event in 2022, which coincides with the 50th anniversary of Four Diamonds. During that time together, as you can see on the screen, more than $190 million has been raised by THON of the 200 and close to 50 million that has been raised in Four Diamonds. So the substantial contribution that THON has made to Four Diamonds, to our children's hospital, and to our research operation is astronomical. It is hard to think about what our culture would be without our partner of THON. Our Four Diamonds families are inspired by our students who are inspired by what is happening as a family fights, who inspires all of our care providers and our professional fundraising staff. Really, it's this beautiful cycle that we glean inspiration from each other, and we use all of the best strengths that each partner brings to the table.
Very good. So now we're going to get into, I think the meat of the talk today. You often use, and I've heard Kate use, and I see this all over the website, which I think is also driven, the design and the verbiage is driven by the students for the most part, I believe. Culminate. You call THON a culmination. Why is that?
Well, because THON is every day. That's one of the other things I hear. THON is today, THON is tomorrow. THON is part of our fabric of our student life, of our Four Diamonds family experience every single day. But we work towards a big announcement that happens every year in a culminating event where we gather as many of our supporters as possible during the course of a weekend to stand together in solidarity, to demonstrate to the world what it is that we're doing as a group all year long. So it does come all together during that one weekend of entertainment and the sea of color and of sound and this pervasive feeling of love and hope that fills the arena where THON weekend is held. And it culminates there, but THON is the very next day. It starts all over again in what happens, and there's not a day that is not THON.
To your point, I forget whether it was you or Kate who sent me this, but I'm calling this wraparound events. And Kate, if I could get you to chat with me about this, I think this makes the point. I know you folks can't probably read these lines, but this was a list. What is it called, Kate?
We call it our calendar of events.
Okay, that was too tricky for me. So the calendar of events is, I went through it, and about half of the lines are deadlines, and the other half are things that happen that in other worlds would be the whole thing. Just stunning and big projects that are one line out of 243. And to your point, Suzanne, this starts the day after THON. It never really ends, right?
It does end. And one of the things that is just remarkable is the spirit of it doesn't end either. So I do think every year we have a new leadership team that is selected within a couple of weeks of the culminating event. And it infuses a whole new sense of energy and excitement into what we're doing. And then there are key moments that are staged throughout the year where we have peaks of energy. But at any given time, it doesn't matter what day of the week I could be on campus. I walk into the THON office. It is filled with students. There is activity, no matter what time of day I might arrive or what day of the week it might be. There is something happening related to THON every day. And I think one of the really remarkable things that THON has done, with 16,500 students participating, they've done a great job at opening their arms and saying there's a place for everyone who wants to be involved. And you can make this as big of an event or as small of a community as what you're seeking for that to be. So whether you are coming from an academic club or coming from sports or coming from a fraternity or sorority, or just coming because you want to participate in THON and you get involved with an organization who was created just to be able to participate in THON, there is a place for everyone. And I often say to Kate and others, THON has an army and they use their army. They deploy meaningful opportunities to their volunteers to be able to take up the mantle, be the mouthpieces, be the spokespeople, be those who are inviting others to join in what we're doing. And that empowerment is part of the magic too.
I love it. So I want to look at just one line of the 243. And Kate, do you want to talk about the Hershey Retreat? And I just literally picked one. I picked that one because I've been to it. But talk about where that fits and in your life, 243 things to worry about top level, and each one of those is a project. Talk about the year-long flow of activity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the most kind of key things with Hershey Retreat is that it takes place at the end of a summer where we have all not been together in person. During the summer, the THON volunteers all go their own separate ways and we're working on things together, but we haven't been in person together in months. And so the Hershey Retreat is one of the first times that the executive committee comes back together for the first time after a summer apart and everyone on different work schedules and in different states and working on different things, and really comes back in centers before the start of the school year. It's also a time that we get to connect with Four Diamond staff really for the first time. We get to sit down and talk with them and talk about year-long strategy of both of our organizations and how we can continue to help each other and be partners in the fight. So it's a really great opportunity for not only the THON executive committee to get together and to get to know each other better and to bond, but also to get to know and to work with the Four Diamond staff that they will be continuing to work with for the rest of the year.
One of the attendees has asked about training, that it was mentioned that there's new leadership each year. I assume that the Hershey Retreat is maybe, from my experience anyway, some about training, but you're doing training all year long. Is that true?
Absolutely. And it's a very fast turnaround period. So the executive committee is selected just a few weeks after THON weekend, and they're kind of expected to learn on the fly. They're given a pretty comprehensive document that details what the last person in their position did, and they're expected to read through it and ask questions, but then they're just thrown into their role. And they're expected to reach out to predecessors and ask when they're not sure about things, and do research into prior years if the most recent documentation that they've been given isn't fully encompassing. But it's a constant learning process. Every single day I come across something that I'm not entirely sure what exactly I'm supposed to do for it, or what exactly it meant, or maybe it wasn't done last year and I have to look back into prior years to figure out what exactly we're talking about. But it's just a constant part of our jobs. It's a constant learning. And I think that really keeps us on our toes and ensuring that we don't get complacent in anything that we're doing, that we're always thinking about if we're doing things as best as we possibly can, and if there's any other aspects that we need to be thinking about as we're planning.
That's for another webinar, but wow, what autonomy that you have. That is just incredible. I'm going to look at a couple of other things, or 4 other things. These are all things that are part of that 243 item list. And to be frank, audience, we are building a case here, and that case is going to culminate in math and magic. Talk to me about THON 5K. Why do that? Why do that?
Yeah.
You got a big fundraising event coming up. Why do that?
Yeah, so the THON 5K is really the first kickoff event for our season. It brings people back and reminds them that THON is something that's happening, for leadership and people who are actively working on THON and our planning efforts. THON is every day for us, but sometimes we need something to remind the community that THON is here and that we're continuing pushing. So the THON 5K is one of the first events that gathers us all back together at the start of the real fundraising season and the real push to THON weekend. And it's just a great event to bring people out and to get them to give them the opportunity to interact with other THON volunteers and to hear some music and to just have fun for a day. It's a great opportunity for kids to come and be able to interact with our THON volunteers and to give them a day that they can just be kids and that they don't have to worry about anything else. So it's a really great activity for all of our supporters from all different walks of life, and for our families and for our volunteers. And it's just a great way to start off our season, our THON season, and remind people that THON is here and it's happening.
And Suzanne, 100 days till THON, what's that about? Why do that?
Well, it's about celebrating. So, you can look at this culminating weekend and be intimidated by it, or you can be excited and energized as we start a countdown. So at 100 days, we start a countdown. Here we are, we're coming up into the culminating weekend. And it's a time to bring student volunteers together and do some reminders. Typically, one of the activities that happens during 100 days is a whiteboard or some signage that is about, why do I THON? And who am I doing this for? And what's the purpose behind that? So it serves as a reminder and touch point for mission, but also for a sense of connection and community and celebration. We know that we've got some hard work ahead of us when we're at 100 days, but we're going to have fun doing that work and look forward to celebrating all together.
And Kate, Family Carnival. Again, each one of these things, I think other organizations would think is the thing, but they're just building blocks for you. Tell me about Family Carnival.
Yeah, absolutely. So Family Carnival is different than some of our other events in that it's extremely focused on the family aspect of it. It's an event that is for families, and there are students who do attend it, but the primary focus of this event is interaction with families. So it's a day that families are able to come and meet other Four Diamonds families and interact with our volunteers. But it's really centered around a day of activities for kids. So it is a day that takes place that there are lots of booths and games and crafts and things like that for kids to come and participate in. And then it's a great opportunity as well for organizations to come and interact with families, and our THON volunteers to come and interact with families and really get that reminder of why we do what we do. Especially as at this point, we're right in the push until the very end, until THON weekend.
Got it. So as you guys talk, Otis and I are hearing your words, but we're hearing them a different way. And what I'm hearing are quantifiable engagement points. And then this last one, I'll get you to hit on really quick. Suzanne, what is the adopt a family? Why do it?
Why do it? It again cements that sense of purpose of why are we here. So when we can create an opportunity for someone to meet face to face and know exactly who it is they're helping, how inspiring that is to know where your efforts are going and exactly how standing on your feet for 46 hours is going to benefit somebody, how raising that dollar makes a difference in somebody's life, how the cumulative effect of all of this energy and activity and fundraising, what does it make happen? Bringing that down to an individual level and allowing the community to know each other and love on each other is part of what drives that THON every single year.
I love it. All right. So now we're going to switch to the cold, hard science of the thing. Suzanne and Kate, both of you know Mike Ringenbach, who's doing research for you guys about THON. And Otis, correct me, because I know I'll say it incorrectly. Mike's PhD research is about, the way I understood it, is quantifying the number of engagement points and its impact on lifetime value. Is that as you understand it, Otis?
That is correct, as measured in lifetime value. That's dollars.
So 243 lines of activities that each in and of itself are a project. That's a whole lot of engagement points. That's a lot of data to put together. But I think what we're coming to is that what we're talking about is the systemization of community. And I pulled this off your website, Join THON Nation. Whether you use that language or not, that's what you already know this, right? Suzanne and Kate, you already know this. You use these words flowingly. You understand it at such an intimate level that you don't even slow down. You take it as a given, but it's not. Most of America focuses on the event instead of the community. Join THON Nation. Otis, I'm going to let you pick up here and talk about, number one, what the language of that button labeling means, and then go on into community itself.
Sure. Well, before I get into that, let me just pass along my condolences to Penn State and Nittany Lions for being upset by Illinois in 9 overtimes last Saturday. Katrina could not stop talking about that. And, I know it was a big deal up there. So sorry about that.
It was painful.
I think of the word nation as just meaning the same thing as community. And you guys do community better than really anybody that I've ever seen it done. So, community and nation are people, a group of people who have a certain core beliefs. The marketing guru Seth Godin says, people like us do things like this. And, what you're describing is really in your nation it's more than an event, of course, it's really kind of like a lifestyle. And when people bring this THON identity onto themselves, they have all kinds of ways to express this lifestyle in the activities and so forth that you provide for them. And that's what makes this whole thing so powerful. So next one, Katrina. So let's talk for a minute about what community is. We use that term a lot, it gets thrown around, but I don't think there's a lot of agreement on what it means. There's a pretty precise way that social psychologists and marketers describe community. The first thing is, of course, it's people with a shared interest. A lot of times organizations just define our community as, they're just the people on our email list. But it's really a lot more than that. We know that they have a shared passion for a mission, a shared interest in a mission, and we can measure that in dollars and cents. But what we don't understand and describe so well is the second part of community, and that's that when we talk to our list, there's only one way communication. It's us to them, and very rarely it's them to us. Real community is a group of people with a common belief and a way to communicate with one another. So they talk to each other. They just don't talk back to us. And I'm sure, Kate, you see that a lot with your THON participants, don't you? That they're engaging with each other. They're just not engaging with the organization. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's part of, it's also something that we want is to them to be able to find friendship in each other. But no, that's definitely true.
Yeah, absolutely. Next one. So what's the formula for building a person's sense of community? And Katrina talked about Mike Ringenbach. He's a graduate student, a doctoral candidate doing research on this. It's pretty simple. It's the sense of community is just the sum of the engagements that an individual will have with the community. And, Mike is looking at quantifying this as the lifetime value. So you guys have such a rich structure in place that you can kind of look at the long game. You're not just looking at the revenue for this event or this event. You're looking at the person's lifetime value over their whole membership, the time they're a member of this community, which, as I talk to THON people, I'm always struck by the fact that you've got students who are now graduates who are continuing to be part of this community, which, just shows just how potent and powerful the secret sauce that you apply to these people during their time at Penn State really is.
So I have a question for Suzanne and Kate. What would you think of the idea of hiring a logistics company to come in and run the event, prep for the event, run it, tear it back down? What do you think?
I would be very opposed to that because of the community that we create through those types of events. It's that kind of work that bonds us and that really makes our students feel as though they are the boots on the ground and they're the people that are making that happen. And I think that that's so important to what we do is being able to look around and know that you were a part of making that happen. And I think that's something that would be lost if you hired someone else to do it for you.
Suzanne?
It is one of the things that is so shocking to me when we watch the culminating weekend happen, to see the crew that comes in at the end. So this is a group of students who have volunteered and said, I'm going to bypass being in the building during the really big grand finale hour, because I'm going to be the person that comes in when everybody else is exhausted and I'm going to clean everything up. And, could you hire a company? You could. But this is one of the meaningful ways that somebody can contribute their time and their energy. And to lose that, I think would truly be a loss to the entire community. I am impressed over and over again at the willingness of our volunteers to step in and say, I will do what it takes to make all of this happen.
So Suzanne, this will never happen, but imagine a world in which you left THON and you were dropped into a nonprofit and all of their events were run with only honorary volunteer leadership, not real volunteer leadership like what Kate provides. What would you do?
I would be looking for the people who are willing to be boots on the ground and invite those honorary volunteers to join them at least in one or two engagements. So I'm looking at your equation of community equals the sum of engagements. I would also say the quality of the engagement. How would we drive mission into some of those pieces? How would we drive fun into some of those pieces? Because and connection. So the connection between the individual community members, I think, makes that fabric even stronger. So when they do establish a friendship, they look forward to the times that they're going to be together, even if that means laying down a floor and scrubbing it in preparation for the culminating event. So I think when you're purposeful in finding those opportunities that are necessary, so I don't want to create work that doesn't need to be done. So the necessary things that have to be done, how can you infuse that with mission? How can you infuse it with a sense of connection from person to person and a sense of fun, so that everybody wins at the end? You're still getting to what you need to get to.
Love it. Kate, did you have any commentary? You'll be job hunting in the next year. Will these ideas influence where you might land?
Absolutely. I think that that's one of the things I love most about this organization, is that I can look around at every single person and see the physical impacts that they're making. And so that's something that will be so important to me as I move forward, is that I feel like I'm making a real and tangible difference in the work that I'm doing.
I love it. All right, Otis, sorry to derail you. Back to you.
Just a normal day. My doctoral research is on the effect of identity on volunteer fundraising on Facebook, and community membership. It's one way that people define their identity. I'm a University of Virginia alumni. I'm a father. I'm an animal rights advocate. We know that all these tags that we give ourselves, the way we tag our identity, is a major shaper of our behavior. As I mentioned, my favorite marketing guru, Seth Godin, says people like us do things like this. So why is communicating with others in your group so important? As people engage with one another, they have experiences that reinforce their identity as someone committed to THON, for example, and this creates an emotional connection. So community membership, engagement, and identity, they reinforce each other. It's kind of a virtuous loop. The more you engage with your community, the more your identity is reinforced, and the more your identity is reinforced, the more you want to engage with your community. So that's exactly the cycle that you want to set up for people. And, it just isn't really there in a real rich way if you're just talking about we're raising money for one event.
I love it. So I pulled a few things off your website, and one of the things that I found really, really different, and I know you folks can't read this, but what it is on the THON website, and it is a contact us for the volunteer leadership. So every person, it's a 17-member executive leadership team, right, Kate? Okay, so every person is available with a job description there to the general public, which is a pretty big group. Contrast that with this. We changed the names to protect the innocent, but we pulled this right off the website of one of our national clients event series, a local event for a national client, a chapter event. And Jane Doe's not her real name, but there was one contact. It was the staff person, not the volunteer leadership, not someone who is so much part of the community, but simply, the staffer supposedly serving the community. Notably absent was all the volunteer leadership. Otis, you want to talk a little bit about what the impact is on Kate and her compatriots of having themselves portrayed that way on the website and available that way?
Well, let me also mention that what most people may not know, that these 17 positions that we're talking about are highly competed for. These are really, I'm sure I'm not exaggerating that hundreds, thousands of people apply for each one of these 17 positions. And having the volunteers there as the point of contact, again, it's very reinforcing for those individuals in terms of their own sense of identity. And it really reinforces that sense of identity every day for their participation and being a point of contact.
And further, not only are the names and their contact information and job descriptions there, but also biographies. This is a lovely page off the site, and I just clipped the top part of it. But each of these, there's Kate at the top, and then the subcommittee captains below. I think it's captains is what you call them, Kate. Is that right?
Directors.
Directors, thank you. So there's a lot of notoriety that goes along with being in volunteer leadership that I think we fail at outside of THON. Even the best communities who have true volunteer empowerment, engagement, and leadership, we don't really take the time to applaud those people in these simple and virtually free ways, that really enhances the role. This is what we do instead. We talk about the fundraising, just the fundraising. We only talk about the culminating measure, which is also not really culminate. And we talk about measurement of fundraising for this event as opposed to measurement of lifetime value for the person. Nor do we talk about their leadership potential. So I actually think that the reason we do that is because we let our platform providers design what we put on the internet, what we put on the web, and they're more concerned with revenue than they are with empowerment and long-term value, lifetime value. So very different the way THON handles its volunteers as opposed to other national event series. This is something else that happens at THON that I just thought was incredible. In most of our clients, the revenue, no matter what we say, really is siloed, and don't touch my people. That's, that's the message. Otis, talk a little bit about, and this is THON asking for planned gifts. I mean, that is so out of character for any event to actually push their people toward planned giving, which, Kate, am I correct in assuming a planned gift would not show up on your tally? Would it?
It doesn't until the planned gift actually comes through. So until we've reached the point that the estate is making those gifts as a result of that being divvied up.
Right. So you're planting a tree whose shade will shade someone else there. Otis, talk about, if you don't mind, what is the impact of precluding other revenue channels from touching my participants?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to ask a slightly different question. It's very challenging when you're just focused on an event because you're a staff person is usually measured just by the outcome of that particular event. And again, that was what I was talking about. Most organizations play the short game. They're just looking to go from event to event to event. I think that the THON legacy idea is something that a lot of organizations would be really hesitant to try to approach. But for THON, it's just a very natural thing because THON is a lifestyle. Of course, someone would consider leaving a legacy to THON because it's part of their whole identity. And so it seems very, very natural, where for a lot of organizations that don't build this kind of community, it would seem awkward.
Yeah. Do you think that when we silo our relative revenue channels and even mission and program efforts, do we deny people community?
Oh, absolutely. And, we were actually in an event last week, and I heard it said very, very well. You don't want to silo by channel. What you want to do is you want to identify communities and then approach them through multiple channels. So many times you've got the legacy group, you've got the events group, you've got the XYZ group, and they're operating aside from each other. And you really want to look at what's the community that I'm trying to get to go for. THON alumni, for example, and to go through them through multiple channels.
I love it. All right, ladies, thank you so much for being with us. I think that you are so immersed in your magic that you don't know that you're making magic. It's just really beautiful. When we had Mike with us last week, I think, hearing him talk about the research he's doing, I think we were so much more excited than he was. Maybe, PhD work is hard and all that, but it really is magic what you're doing, and all good things to you. We appreciate you being with us today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much for having us.
Kate, and good luck to you on your future. It's coming at you fast, girl.
Thank you so much.
All right, Otis, thank you. I'll see you in a few minutes because we live together.